So I just finished binging like the whole Michael Bayverse Transformers franchise. As those movies were coming out, and I'm guessing they're still gonna make more. I stopped watching after Dark Side of the Moon, I believe is when I fell off. I know I tried to watch Age of Extinction at some point, or at the very least I thought about it, but I just wasn't interested. That's when I noticed, at least based on the trailers at the time, that the Michael Bayverse movies were starting to fall off. So I kind of just lost interest, and I finally binged the whole Bayverse. On top of that, I finally saw Transformers 1, which I was not expecting it to be that good, but I'm gonna save that for a whole different video. But for the Bayverse movies, I mean, I already saw the first one. Never going to not be a favorite movie of all time for me personally. Is great. It's still as charming as it is. The second one, Revenge of the Fallen, as far as I'm concerned, is still peak. I know a lot of people don't care for Revenge of the Fallen, partially because Optimus is not in the majority of the movie. To me, that's actually one of the upsides to it, seeing how everyone navigated the whole situation, the war that kind of popped off at the end in Egypt, and all that stuff without him until he came back. And for a lot of people, that was a downside. To me, that was an upside. I always look at that as it's nice to see how everyone was able to function and to see people's reactions when Optimus is not around and to see that there's still direction. And I also started binging the old 2000, like early 2000s Transformers cartoons. Started with Armada. I'm in Energon now, and I'm going to work my way through to Cybertron also. I believe it's in Armada when Optimus passes away because of the huge laser cannon that Megatron shot at him. And for a good bit, he was actually gone. And if Forrest Hotshot, who I believe is supposed to be another incarnation or version of Bumblebee, I guess, I don't know if it's a Japanese versus American thing, that forced Hotshot to grow up, and he ended up becoming the temporary second commander. Well, not, I guess, second. Well, yeah, I guess he would historically have been the second commander of the Autobots. But he ended up taking the commander position of the Autobots until Optimus Prime came back not long later afterwards. I think it only took like a couple episodes, and the mini-cons ended up reviving him, which was cool. I've been binging that, and when I see those two type of situations, side by side, basically back to back, and see how in the live action movies, primarily how Sam had to grow up and how far he went for Optimus to bring him back and stepped up to the plate when it came to bringing them back and not giving up on them. Whereas I think even Ironhide or some of the other Autobots were kind of willing to let it go, as long as they send them away properly. I believe they were okay with kind of moving on, or at the very least, they had to accept the idea of Optimus being gone. And Sam wasn't going to take that line down. So he really stepped up to the plate in that way. Just like with Hotshot, after Optimus passed away in the Transformers Armada cartoon, and he had to step up as the second commander of the Autobots, and everyone supported it. After he went through his whole, meltdown training maturity thing, where Scavenger kind of started beating him up and everyone else started getting involved. It was similar. Not to say like the characters are similar, but I like that whole effect of wondering, now Optimus is gone, who's going to step up and, we got to do what we got to do. And that's why I really liked. Dark Side of the Moon was still cool. The Chicago War was freaking great. I didn't remember it being that great. And Tyrese's character, where he was like an Air Force combat soldier, and him like getting some of his old buddies back into the fold for the Chicago battle. One of them, he gained a lot of weight over the years, and the way he roasted him, saying, "Get your big butt over here."
This way! Come on, line up.
There's a monkey here.
Get your fat ass over here.
I'm coming.
Set up the rocket.
When the guy was like, "Hey man, I think we're high enough." He was sick of running. He wasn't trying to keep on moving. And dude was like, "Get your fat behind over here." I'm like, dude, that's freaking hilarious. I feel like Tyrese didn't get his dues when it came to his role in the Transformers movies, to the point where, because the Dark Side of the Moon is the last time we see him. It's not the last time we see, he ends up being Colonel Lennox, but it's not the last time we saw him. For some reason, this is where Age of Extinction is iffy with me. I didn't realize what Age of Extinction was actually going to be about. So when I saw it, I was actually really intrigued. But there was way too much going on between the company that took advantage of the remains of Transformers from the Chicago War and them being, I guess, a secondary villain, if not the main villain of the movie. That's also how Galvatron came to be. I don't like that compared to the cartoons, personally. But more than anything, even before I saw the actual movie, over the last handful of years since, or however many years since it's been out, I've seen the picture of Galvatron multiple times from that movie. No, I don't like it personally, especially in the eyes. The yellow rings or whatever, I don't mess with him. His whole design, I don't know. I don't like the live action Galvatron design personally. But they're supposed to be that. And then you have Lockdown, who to me is the real big bad of the whole situation. He has the most aura. He takes up the presence. He has this mysterious, vibe to him. But at the same time, he's still honorable because he has his deal with the humans. He's like, I really don't care about human affairs. He's here to take Optimus back to his creator and, just take care of that. And that's that. But even when everything was said and done, he could have pulled a typical bad guy and could have been like, yeah, I don't care about y'all affairs, but I despise humans so much, I'm gonna destroy y'all anyway, or something like that. He easily could have pulled that. And he didn't. Like, once everything was done, he, gave the humans what they wanted or whatever, gave them the seed, and left. And I was like, I actually like that. I really like characters who would be deemed as villains or they're just the antagonist, and they finish whatever their arrangement was. There's no double crossing. There's nothing messy. It's like, man, I came here to do a job. I worked with you. I don't really care about you, but I'm not gonna make it a point to like stab you in the back either. We got our things. Let's go. Separate. You know what I mean? I actually really like characters like that because even if they're not like, they can't be reformed into a good guy, which more times than not, at least in fiction, I think that's the case because the whole idea is that villains aren't supposed to have any type of honor. Like, I can't envision Joker being honorable, not truly. Not if you think of Joker, you're not thinking of the most honorable person. Like, he intentionally backdoors people for a living, like in the old anime series, Batman and Superman cartoons, and even other media, like he's going to, if you turn your back to Joker, you're done. You know what I mean? So it's like, you don't initially think of Joker as an honorable like individual, but I like characters like Lockdown and other characters like that who, yeah, they may be a villain or they may be an antagonist, but at the same time, they treat it like they got a job to do. And because of that, and because they don't make it a point to be as bad as they could be, especially if they got the power to back it up, they usually are framed as someone that is probably mysterious. They are being forced to be a bad guy in the situation. They're just a cut and dry person that isn't necessarily a bad person, but maybe there are other circumstances they got to deal with, or maybe this truly is a chosen life, but they'll accept whatever their karma or whatever is from living that lifestyle, but they're still just not making it a point to hurt people more than they need to. Like a drug emperor El Chapo type dude might make it a point to unalive people on a regular basis, and it doesn't faze him. But he may have an issue with just anybody willy-nilly getting hurt in the community, assuming he has no business with him. That type of thing. So, a few different ways, but all around, I really enjoyed Lockdown. And the Age of Extinction was actually a very good concept because I never saw completely from front to back the linear progression of the story, like the relationships between the Autobots and the humans falling through because a lot of issues were coming their way because of the Autobots. But at the same time, the initial issue, which Megatron from the first movie and the Decepticons and the Spark, that happened long before Optimus and his team showed up. They actually needed to be there. So to see the public perception of the Transformers reach an all-time low in Age of Extinction, and then also in The Last Night, where Optimus really wears his disdain for humans on his sleeve. He's like, we're going to wrap up whatever this last mission is, and then the humans are on their own. I really enjoyed that. And I forgot until I started rewatching the early 2000s Transformers cartoons, but Optimus has always been a very pragmatic guy. Like, he prefers to be positive. He prefers to give people chances, have hope for people. That's also why in the Armada cartoon that I'm watching, I'm in Energon now, but while in Armada, Starscream betrayed them, took some of the weapons from under their noses, And that's part of what led to Hotshot having to kind of grow up and mature when Optimus passed away, because he willy-nilly, even into Energon, even into the second series, he's taking these former Decepticons and bringing them around and granting them a certain level of trust right away. Because when it comes down to it, he's optimistic about his species. He's optimistic about all Transformers, and he likes to extend chances to them. But when you show him where your stance is, Optimus has very little issue meeting you where you at, as I tend to say. You know, he made it known in the cartoons, in the live action, the way that he took out Megatron on that bridge in the Chicago War without a second thought of hesitation and beheaded that dude, basically. The way that he took down what's that dude's name? The Tank. That I forget which Decepticon, I forget his name. That he took out in the first Transformers movie, like under the bridge. Like, when it really comes down to it, if you're in the way of his mission, he really is he's gonna do what it gotta do. That 1v3 fight in Revenge of the Fallen, oh, that's one of the best sequences of just all time. It's like that type of thing, because I like to watch certain like hype moments and anime clips and stuff like that when I go to the gym, especially when I'm doing cardio, and that's one of my favorite ones to watch. Like, that is one of the best action sequences in the genre, in media, period. I would tell little kids, like, if I had to give you a movie franchise to watch for key moments, like all-time moments, it would be at least the first 3 movies of the Bayverse, especially that 1v3 that Optimus pulled in Revenge of the Fallen before Megatron freaking backdoored on some coward stuff. It was great. Yeah, what's it called? Age of Extinction was cool. It was a lot going on, but whenever Lockdown showed up, to me, that's when the movie instantly got better. Then you have The Last Night, which I just don't care for in general. It looked like an interesting concept over all the years when I was looking at the trailers and stuff, but in execution, it just didn't turn out that well. And again, you had multiple villains or multiple things going on where it was kind of just a mess. Again, had a good moment where Optimus beheaded 7 of the Night bots or whatever all at the same time. It was like, have you forgotten who I am? I am Optimus Prime. Like, Optimus, when he really want to pop his, you know what I'm saying? He can do that. Like, they know how to give Optimus great moments pretty much throughout all of the movies. It's just all the movies in their entirety is a whole different manner. The last one being Rise of the Beasts, I was expecting this to be pretty bland, especially since it blatantly took place in the past. When I initially saw the commercials when that movie was just coming out and they were just rolling it out, and you see that Optimus kind of reverts to his more old school, like, again, similar to the cartoons, that kind of look, his truck form. I like his Night form the most, but I like all of his forms pretty much the same. Like, it's not an easy pick, but I do like his Night form the most. I ended up liking the Rise of the Beasts form really, like, a lot. I was really surprised. But as a movie, Rise of the Beasts, that is the closest. Like, I don't know if I want to say just the first movie or the first, like, the trilogy, like the initial first 3 movies. But either way, Rise of the Beasts is the closest thing that we've gotten to either the original Transformers movie, or, in my opinion, because I know a lot of people say the first 3 movies, anything after the first ones, at least, it still can be good, but not as great. Again, some people have their issues with Revenge of the Fallen. Some people have their issues with Dark Side of the Moon. In my opinion, those first 3 movies are solid through and through. I actually think, well, no, the first movie's peak, but Revenge of the Fallen is gas. Dark Side of the Moon I like a little less, partially because that's when they took Ironhide away from us. That sucked, but overall, it was still solid. So Rise of the Beasts, I'm going to say, in comparison to the first 3 movies in general, is the closest thing we've gotten to those original, like, that feeling, that nostalgia, that charm. You know, it's obviously still a big deal because it's a planetary threat, but, well, no, I'm not going to say it doesn't feel like it. It's the most reminiscent of the first movie and just the first three movies in general. And to me, Rise of the Beasts is the best Transformers movie we gotten in a while. Bumblebee was good too. I forgot about Bumblebee. Bumblebee was good too when it first came out. Yeah, man. I'm glad I waited all these years to binge it, because now I think like the whole present day storyline, I think that's done. Then they went to the past. Now we gotta wait and figure out how Transformers and G.I. Joe are gonna cross over. I didn't know that was a thing. That's when I saw that news a while back, but we'll see how that goes. Yeah, overall, the Bayverse, I would say if I had to split it into halves between the stories themselves, the Autobot teams, the humans being of interest, then they started to fall off primarily after the third movie, which is what I forgot to mention. Tyrese's character was in the first three movies. After that, we don't see him again, which kind of sucks. But he retired, so what you gonna do? And then the guy that played Colonel Lennox was in the first three, for whatever reason, was not in. I'm blanking. Goodness, it's Transformers, is Revenge of the Fallen, Dark Side of the Moon, Age of Extinction. He wasn't in Age of Extinction. For whatever reason, when the new Transformers, like Resistance Force or whatever is the TRF, pop back up, now all of a sudden he's back in The Last Knight. That was weird. I was expecting him to have been promoted by that time, but that's whatever. But yeah, I was expecting. I'm like, okay, Tyrese's character is gone. The rest of the original soldiers are gone. Once the fourth movie rolled around, I'm like, okay, I guess that's fine. And then Colonel Lennox is gone too, so I'm like, okay, I guess they're really moving on from this group, only for them to bring him back later. And I was like, well, if the tone has shifted to Transformers in general being the enemy of the world, I'm surprised he was not there to, provide some commentary or talk against it or something like that. And then he pops back up as part of the Resistance Force that is against all Transformers, but being the only one in that force that has had a partnership experience with them and knows, like, you have to watch out for some Transformers, but you got some other ones that are on our side. And he had no problem making that distinction and going against the rest of the unit, which I appreciated, but I don't think it necessarily did anything. I don't know if the impact of that was big. You know what I mean? I don't know if that had like a huge impact, but true to his character, it was nice to see instead of seeing him just flip completely. And it's like, dude, why are you acting like you ain't partnered with the Transformers, with the Autobots in particular, for years on end? Like, that's kind of weird of you. So I'm glad they didn't do that. But yeah, overall, the Bayverse movies are pretty cool. They were fun. It starts to fall off for me, particularly after the third movie. After that, you have moments that are good, but the overall movies just start doing way too much. And there are certain moments that are kind of just random, especially with the explosions, because it's Michael Bay. He's good for that. But when he stopped directing the films and started producing them, and other directors started stepping in, you could tell, the way certain things were executed. But overall, I enjoyed it. I'm glad I waited all these years to see it and to binge it. I don't think I would have been happy seeing 2 to 3 movies being basically mid or just not being as interesting as the first 3. So yeah, I don't regret not watching those as they came out. I don't know how other people feel, but at least I caught up and now I know where it is. But right now, based on Rise of the Beasts, it's good. I would like to see more of like old Transformers, like the characters, the boy and the girl, Elena and what's his name, Diaz. I would like to see more of them. They're great together. They're great in general. So yeah, I'm honestly looking forward to what's coming next with Transformers. I don't know how the whole fan base is, the whole fandom, but I'm actually looking forward to where they'll go with it next. So I'll go ahead and leave that video off here, guys. If you have any comments, feedback, suggestions, anything like that for me, what are your thoughts on the Bayverse as well? Are you curious about where it's going to go from here? Is it done? Is there any plans to keep it going? Let me know what you guys think, but go ahead and leave that for me in the comment section below. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.